Welcome to Cotton Incorporated's podcast series. In last month's podcast, our economist John Devine talked about why cotton prices are at record levels and what we can expect with the new 2011-2012 crop year. Today's podcast will focus on the other end of the supply chain, the consumer. My name is Melissa Bastos, and I manage the consumer research at Cotton Incorporated. In this podcast, we will talk about the U.S. end consumer and how they say they may react to possible price increases at retail, specifically for clothing. With increasing costs of raw materials, apparel prices are anticipated to rise for the first time in 15 years. Since 1995, we have experienced a 12% decline in apparel prices at retail, while food, medical services, and energy prices have increased, as you can see in this chart. There are several reasons this has occurred. During the same time frame, over the past 15 years, we have seen fundamental shifts in consumer behavior and at retail that have facilitated the decline in apparel prices. First of all, mass merchants, such as Walmart and Target, known for their low prices, were gaining share of consumers' apparel purchases. Also, the industry was experiencing an opening of trade with additional low-cost countries, which also helped mass merchants offer their lower prices. In addition to shifts to mass merchants and in sourcing patterns, there was an oversupply of retail, which led retailers to rely upon promotional discounts and sales as a way to compete for consumers. In turn, consumers became more accustomed to looking for discounts and shopping on sale, and we've seen these shopping behaviors only intensify due to the latest recession. With increasing input costs such as energy and labor, as well as increasing fiber costs from not only cotton but also polyester, wool, and rayon, several brands and retailers have indicated their prices will rise at retail. So the question is, will consumers be willing to pay more for their clothing? Between August 2010 and March 2011, cotton prices have increased about 150%. In order to better understand how rising raw cotton costs may impact consumer prices, Cotton Incorporated conducted research to show the price increases if the retailer or brand were to pass through the rising cotton costs. Please keep in mind these estimates are based solely on raw cotton fiber prices. Certainly we understand there are other factors throughout the supply chain that affect prices at retail. However, this model is looking strictly at rising raw cotton prices. Now let's take a look at what prices would have to be passed through to the consumer in order to cover the rising costs of cotton. If we assume an average increase in raw cotton prices of $1.25 this crop year, and multiply that increase by the average weight of the raw cotton required for each apparel item, which for instance would be about 0.41 pounds for a t-shirt and about 1.92 pounds for a pair of jeans, then the potential or theoretical effect of raw cotton price increases for an average cotton t-shirt would be an additional 53 cents. For a polo shirt, it would be an additional 65 cents, an additional 53 cents for a woven shirt, and an additional $2.42 for a pair of jeans. Once we had an understanding of what the possible effects of increased raw cotton costs could be on retail prices, we went to the consumers and asked what they would be willing to pay for their cotton clothing. Consumers told us that they paid an average of $9.56 for their last cotton t-shirt. If we add the theoretical increase of 53 cents based on the rise in cotton prices, that means consumers would now have to pay $10.09 for the same shirt if the increase in raw cotton prices were passed through. On average, consumers said they paid $27.35 for their last pair of jeans. If we add the theoretical increase of $2.42, that means consumers would have to pay $29.77 for their jeans. Then we asked consumers if they went back to the store to buy the same cotton t-shirt and the same pair of jeans, what would be the maximum price they would be willing to pay. What we found is that consumers are willing to pay up to an average of $11.98 for a t-shirt and up to $32.78 for a pair of jeans. As you can see from the table, the average consumer would be willing to pay, if necessary, the price needed to cover the increased costs of cotton, as well as an additional $1.89 for a t-shirt, for a total of 25% more, and an additional $3 for their jeans, or a total of 20% more. If we look specifically at consumers who say they shop mostly at mass merchants, knowing they are used to paying lower prices, we find that even mass shoppers are willing to pay an average of 23% more for a t-shirt and 19% more for their jeans if necessary. Therefore, there may be some flexibility with pricing if trying to pass some costs on to the consumer. But the last thing a retailer or brand wants to do is to sacrifice quality or expect the consumer to pay more for less. All consumers, regardless of where they shop, have expectations of what is acceptable quality for the price they pay. According to consumers, quality is mainly the longevity of an apparel item and good strong fibers, in consumers' words. And most consumers associate cotton with better quality clothing. In fact, more than half of shoppers say they would be bothered if brands and retailers substitute cotton for synthetic fibers. So meeting consumers' expectations of quality and value will be crucial when redefining price. While the average consumer indicates there is an ability to pay a little more, keep in mind that consumers' shopping behaviors have not changed. Sales will continue to motivate consumers. Economic issues like rising energy prices and high unemployment will continue to influence purchasing patterns, and consumers will continue to demand quality in their clothing, which they associate with fibers and ultimately cotton. In many cases, retailers may choose to ride out the higher prices until the 2011-2012 crop year, when expectations for the largest harvest on record may bring downward pressures on price. This continues to be a difficult time for both the industry and the consumers, who are still feeling the effects of the recession. So all decisions to change raw materials or increase prices must be made wisely, keeping the consumer in mind, because ultimately they are the ones who make the choice as to whether or not they buy. This concludes our podcast. If you would like more information, please visit cottonlifestylemonitor.com. If you would like to ask us a question or leave a comment, please send your emails to marketinformation@cottoninc.com.